everyone, and welcome to this bonus episode of the Ducks podcast. We decided that at this time of the year, there is a lot of extra pressure on everyone, children, parents, everybody. So this is our special episode on Christmas pressure and seasonal pressure, not just Christmas. There's so many times of the year where there is extra pressure, birthdays, occasions, starting a new school term. Like there's so many big occasions that cause other pressures. So being the beginning of the festive season, we decided that we should come along and try and help out to see if we can alleviate some of those worries. As you can see, I have festively dressed for the occasion with the lovely little this is my elf self, as you were. Tracy might not be able to stop laughing throughout this podcast because I think it's brought up a few humorous elements of Tracy that she didn't want to bring to this, but it's fine. For all of those listening, I am wearing a jumper that makes it look like I have a huge human head on a tiny elf body. I just thought,
filming, she was literally making it dance on the table, and I have not recovered.
But that's what the festive period's about. It's about having fun and trying to enjoy it, because there is so much pressure that even if you're not religious, even if you don't celebrate Christmas, there's still a lot of pressure because there's more people in the shops. There's people struggling to take time off work. The children, even if you aren't, if you're not Christian and don't celebrate Christmas, there's still a lot of festivities going on. You're still at school. There's school plays. There's holidays coming up. There's people talking about presents. There's so much, and it's a lot. It's a lot for grown-ups, let alone children's brains that are excited and don't know where to focus that excitement. So that's what today's episode is about, and we're going to try and help where we can. And if Tracy loses it, I might just have to duck down under the table so she can't see all my elf body.
You don't help, honestly. But no, you're right, it is so much pressure. And if anyone who isn't watching this, I'm not wearing a festive outfit. I don't tend to celebrate in the same way that Cherry does. And I also, when I was working in schools, there are a lot of children out there that don't celebrate Christmas or the prescribed in this country festivals of, there are so many. We're never going to remember them all. There are children who celebrate different things, and that in itself can be really hard. I know that we did celebrate Christmas, even though both of my children's parents, me and their dad, did not celebrate Christmas. We'd still celebrate it because we didn't want them to feel left out.
Yeah.
And that was huge, and even now there's that pressure of, let's do Christmas. It's like, but we don't celebrate Christmas. So, there is so much pressure from every angle at Christmas. You haven't just got the actual celebration, you've then got the crash afterwards. I don't think many people celebrate like big occasions, like you said, not just this season, but birthdays, holidays and things like that, and don't come home and don't have the day afterwards where they're feeling like, well, that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
The kind of expectations and the lead up to it and all this big emotions, and then it's when have you ever had a holiday that was exactly good enough?
Describe good enough.
Exactly. Kind of my point.
It's tough. It is tough. Like for us, like we're not a religious family, but we've always celebrated because it's always been done. But for us, it's mainly the it's the excitement. It's the Santa day. It's it's all of that, and we go big. Big with the decorations, we go big with all that, and we might not be celebrating it for traditional reasons, but the celebration element is very big in our household. And we're very we're big gift givers in our house, but funnily enough, we are awful receivers. So we love to gift, but it's like you open it and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing, thank you so much. But then expressing that, it's and that I think children struggle with, because I love giving. I could give all day and not receive a single present, and be so happy. But there are children who it's overwhelming. Like they come down and see this pile of presents and they're like, new, 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 new. You got endorphins flying everywhere because they're, so flooded. And then you get that Christmas afternoon crash. It's like a birthday day. How many people have their children crying on their birthday? And it's because they've gone like this and then they've gone like that. And it's helping them to understand that yes, these days are huge, but they can be calm if you want them to be. I've got a friend who her children, they love Christmas, but they get so overexcited that what they do is they have a Christmas week, whereas they will have presents spread out over the course of the week very slowly, and they'll have their Santa present on Christmas morning. But the rest of the presents are spread out. So it's not this, oh my goodness, we have to do all of this. Obviously that works for them. It doesn't work for everyone else. But you do it how you want. Like we have another family who they find the Christmas dinner cooking so stressful because all they want to do is be together and enjoying the day. And the obviously the parents are in the kitchen and the kids aren't getting the attention they want because they're not there, and it's the day to be together. So every year they do a cold buffet for their Christmas dinner because they can just get it out and it's all pre-prepped and they have the best day. And I've gone, you know what? That sounds amazing. Yeah. And you make it work for you, and you can start at the beginning of December. Like the whole season is, the shops are full of Christmas stuff from summer. Like you see it, and it's the excitement and the build up. And for us, I always find Christmas Day itself an anticlimax, because it's so anticlimactic because you've been putting up with all of this excitement. It's here, and then when it's actually here, it's like, oh okay, and what next?
Yeah, my family was always like that. We also had the sensory overload. My youngest couldn't do Christmas or birthdays or any kind of celebrations like that. It would just, if you sung happy birthday, he would freak out. He could not handle the pressure of being center of focus or the sensory input of having the lights and the dangly glitters and all that. We could not have them. No. And when we first started that, it felt really wrong because I grew up in a family that was full blown, kind of like you. I had the decorations, that pile. It was all full blown Christmas, and I grew up with that. And as a parent, I wanted to give that to my kids.
Yeah,
but I couldn't because that is not what my kids needed or wanted.
Yeah,
it was. If I'd have tried to do that, it would have completely been a day of meltdowns. I think I did try to do that once or twice and had a complete day of meltdowns.
Oh, bless you.
And it took accepting the pre-prescribed image of a holiday that I had wouldn't work for my family.
Yeah.
Even now, it took many years. We sometimes celebrate different things. We celebrate Yule in our family, so we celebrate a few days before Christmas. And we will have the dinner and we'll have a board game every year since they were like 5.
Oh, I love that.
Have a tree, but a tree is the only decoration we have in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, some years we haven't managed to have a tree. It's been proper. We can't have those added extras, or you can't have presents. You have one or the other, not both. And even then, there have been years where the presents aren't allowed to be wrapped. It's like the wrapping itself, not knowing what's underneath the wrapping was so much stress for them that it was not, there's so much behind it, and there's so much pressure as a parent to put that picture perfect image and that, that what you see on television celebration. And have your kids join in. It's like, but that wouldn't work for every family.
Yeah, not every family is a John Lewis advert.
Exactly. Not that we're picking on John Lewis. There are lots of other adverts out there.
Absolutely. We are not sponsored.
Let's not go there.
But it's again, going back to the whole what you see on TV, what you see on everything. It's madness. You don't live by TV standards. Television it's wonderful, but at the same time it's giving you an image of a life you're not living. And children have to realize that, and it's difficult because it's everywhere, magazines, media, social medias, it's on games, it's everywhere. And you watch all the Christmas movies that come out, and they've got the big tree, the big presents, the huge meal, like all the family, all the traveling. And you watch the movies that are crazy and it all goes wrong. You watch the ones that are picture perfect and it's wonderful. And it's not just about that. You can have the anxiety of that and all of it, and change. But I think these days there's also a lot of, there are families who really cannot afford stuff. And you have the children who I've asked Father Christmas for a PlayStation 5 this year and I got it. And there's the little child who's gone, I didn't ask for anything. I got something really little and I love it. But I think the one thing I find really hard is, I think parents should be proud of the presents they're able to bring them, and, Father Christmas is incredible. We all love Father Christmas. But I think Father Christmas should bring something little. In our house, he brings something little, because then when she was at school and she'd go in and there'd be the children in her class who'd only got a book from Father Christmas, she got something little, and it wasn't a comparison game, because it's so hard. I remember the year there was a little girl in Lily's class. It was a long time ago now, and I'm not dropping any names, but there was a little girl whose family it was a very, very difficult situation. They'd been in and out of foster care. It had been horrible. And obviously at Christmas, she got a pencil case from Father Christmas, which she was so happy with. It had her name on and all of it. And the little boy next to her had got a flat screen TV for his bedroom with a games console from Father Christmas. And trying to explain that to a child, because it was, it's not that she hadn't, obviously it was like, well, that's what he asked for, and whatever, but it's not even that. It's really difficult, because
it's children are going to compare, and we've created this common figure. And this common figure does not give the same to everyone in the whole entire world, and that's a really hard concept to understand for a child. It's a hard concept to understand as an adult sometimes. But it's a hard concept to understand, and unfortunately we can't control what everyone's giving everyone. It is, I think that is such a stress and holiday for parents who are struggling to be able to do Christmas. It's that comparison, isn't it? It's the expectations and the comparison, and the Christmas has become, we keep falling back on Christmas because I think it has become such a phenomena in its own. It's this huge whole concept that realistically very few families out there have the concept fully exactly how they see it in their heads. It's this huge image of what it should be that doesn't really exist, and it creates the space of frustration and confusion and changes, and it's so hard as a parent, as a child. It is a really hard time to be able to understand the difference between expectations and reality.
100%.
It's, and it's not just that, it's also the middle of winter, so you've already got the darker weather, and you can't go out as much, and you've got so many winter seasonal things going on. Especially in the UK, we have beautiful weather here. Lots of wet rain and wet rain. What kind of rain is that, seriously? But
I'm
blaming your top for my brain power here. Your top is distracting my brain. Have you haven't shown, have you seen her earrings as well? You have to show your earrings and we'll describe them. What are they?
They are, so for everyone who can't see, it is a happy little gingerbread man sitting in a mug of hot chocolate, enjoying it like a hot tub, which looks incredible until you really think about it. And I'm like, he's going to try and get out and his legs are going to fall off. So
this is why I can't focus, people. And also why we keep going back to Christmas, I think, is because Cherry looks like a Christmas tree.
I do. It's the time of year, I can't help it. But it's the same with birthdays. Jump from Christmas to birthdays, it's very similar. You're looking forward to it, you're building it up. But there are children, like, I think, struggle more with birthdays because all of the attention is on them.
Oh yeah, we
And
couldn't do birthdays in our house at all.
yeah.
We're not allowed. It would have caused complete. Even I think one year my youngest refused to even say the words happy birthday or happy Mother's Day, because
Wow.
saying the words was too much for him. And as a mum, that was absolutely, I was so upset. And looking back on it now, I'm like, really, it was not, it wasn't that much of a thing. He shows me he loves me in certain ways, and that's his method of, and I understand all that. But at the time, I had this expectation, this built up moment that I wanted Mother's Day to be and birthdays to be, and he
Yeah.
could not do them. He
No.
could not manage it. And yeah, I remember, I think I had a breakdown that year. I was like, oh my God, I just want to hear the words Happy Mother's Day. Why is it so hard? But for
Yeah.
him, it was impossible.
Yeah.
The anxiety it caused and the focus on the individual, what he was going through.
Yeah.
You don't, we have this expectation, this pressure to enjoy and be excited about things. There's this pressure to be excited about the holiday and the season, and even if they don't feel that way, you think you should.
Oh yeah.
It's like, if you're feeling depressed in a holiday season, people are like, oh, but it's this time of year, you should be happy. I'm like, no, it doesn't just disappear because it's a certain date of the year. There's so much in that. It's, and we can go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to come on from what you'd said. It's also it's the family pressure. I have a couple of friends who they've got very big families on both sides, and you know how you alternate going to different families each year. They now have their own family. They've got two young boys. They've and it's lovely. And they stood firm last year and said, we're having Christmas at home. And goodness me, the ruckus it caused with the two separate families, because it was like they weren't abandoning you, they're just prioritizing their own family. And I'm like, you can see there are so many other dates. You don't have to get together with 40 other people in a tiny house.
Family politics are always beautiful. I think my mum had the best idea. I think as soon as me and my brother had left home and flown she decided that every holiday she was going to go on holiday.
Oh, I love her.
So she never had to choose between either of us and that was her choice. But it made my life easier because I didn't have to go, actually we'll come to yours for the Christmas or something. And I'm like, God, with my son's overload of sensory things, going to my mother's for Christmas was like, the amount of work that took was ridiculous. So when she started going on holiday, I remember the first time she did it, she said she felt really bad about it. She felt awful that she was going away. And I'm like, this is a brilliant idea. I think I'm going to do it. Once my boys have left, I'm going away on holiday anytime there's a big seasonal holiday, because I don't want to have to fight between them.
No.
It really worked for our family. But I know a lot of families would think that was awful.
Yeah.
That you couldn't get together for the holidays. It's like, yeah, whatever worked for you, but that worked for us.
Yeah. And it's obviously, and then you've got sort of so in my situation, I'm not with Lily's dad, and there, when she was a lot younger, there was a pressure of having to be together on Christmas Day for her. And it was I'd take her over there, I'd end up having to cook dinner, doing all that, but it was for her. And you sit there going, well, surely she'll be happy wherever she's getting her presents, whatever. And you have to really think about it. You have to go, well, what's best? Like, is it actually benefiting the child? Or if the parents aren't happy, or if it's a tense situation, they're going to feel that. So you have to really look at what the norms are, and you don't have to stick to them. Like, now we will try and separate the holidays. We'll do that. We used to have a crossover in the middle, like, we'd meet up at lunchtime and then split off, and now it's changing again. Now she's older, and it can be confusing, especially for children. Like, you get the odd child who goes, it's great for me, I get 2 Christmases. And wonderful, if that works for you, it works for you. But I think you have to really, it's trial and error. If you're lucky enough to have a child that pootles through the day, has a great day, gets excited, eats too much food and goes to bed. Brilliant. But if you've got a child who is visibly anxious, worrying about it, you know that day is going to be hell because they can't deal with the noise, the sounds, all the people, food, then what can you do to help it? Do you need to set them up a separate space they can go to where you know it's safe and they can just go off to that? Do you need to prep them in? Do you need to set a routine up where, you know, they're going to go and have some time out so they can chill? Do you have to do it so you spread it out and you do a week worth of celebrations instead of a whole day? Like, think about what works for you. In the end, it doesn't matter. The only person that matters is like your immediate family and that child, getting them through that day so you're not all stressed by the end of it. Because what's the point in having a Christmas day or an occasion or anything where everyone has gone to bed sad and upset and stressed? Like, then you're going to have pre-nerves the next year. You know, if that, my child holds onto things like she's holding onto like a diamond. Like, she honestly, she will remember negative things from like 6 years ago, and it's, those will really stick with them. Like, if they remember that last year it was stress, shouting, crying, overload, as soon as it comes up to that event again, they're going to start getting anxious, they might stop sleeping, they, you know, and it really, they remember these things. So it's setting stuff in place to go, right, okay, last year what did you struggle with? Did you struggle with having all those presents and having to open them in front of people? Well, that's fine. Do you want to go and open them on your own? Would you like them? Would you like one a day? Would you like us to not wrap them? Like, find ways that will make it as least stressful for them as possible, because then you're all going to be more relaxed. And you know, don't worry about conforming. If you want to take a lovely picture for Instagram, take it before the children come down in the morning. Like, it sounds silly, but if that's really important to you, you can set up a lovely little image and take that picture. Everything is possible if you just make time for it. It's, you know, you don't have to tell the world. If it's difficult for you, you don't have to broadcast it. Just survive it.
Just survive it. It shouldn't be about surviving it, really, should it?
It shouldn't be, but
it is. I understand. I get it. It is.
Yeah.
It's like, it shouldn't be about surviving it. And I think that's kind of the point. It shouldn't be about surviving it. So you know, how can you make that holiday work for you? And it isn't even just, you know, we're talking, we're in December, we're talking seasonal holidays. Mostly we're focusing on Christmas, but the realism is you also have the summer season where you have, you know, 6 weeks of different routines and different busyness levels. And you know, when you go places, they're busier than they normally are, or they're uncomfortable. There's so many different aspects to holidays that, you know, Halloween, I think every time Halloween come around, my son used to hide from the shops because he didn't like the scary things. You know, we couldn't go food shopping because there was masks that were scary. And you just don't think about it, but there is just so many things out there that can really throw people off if you don't. And half the problem is not understanding that can throw them off. So as a parent, you just get really frustrated because suddenly you can't do anything. You know,
can't go anywhere. The TV's covered in them. It's all talking about them. People are talking about school. You know, at school they're talking about it. You know, it's a lot. And then even not even big like festive events, like things like weddings. If you're planning a wedding, you know, that's stressful. But taking a child to a wedding as a guest, you know, if you go with loads of people and then you have to sit still and be quiet, and then there's times where you have to wait and wait and wait, and you have to keep them well, that's anxiety inducing for the parent, and it's annoying for the child. Then
I cannot tell you the amount of times I sat at events out in a separate room with my son on the floor somewhere, leaning against a wall, trying to focus and rebalance himself. You know, he was giving it everything to be in that space with family and with friends, but that did not make it any easier on him. You know, we could do all the things that you know to do, you know, have your iPod. In today's world there's more technology than there was 15-20 years ago. You know, my boys are older, but it's, you know, he had his ear defenders, he sat with the closest member family members who we knew and he liked.
Yeah.
And he was in a safe space as he could possibly get.
Yeah.
But it was still too much.
Yeah.
And that complete and utter stepping outside of his daily routine and his daily knowledge. Holidays were at points a complete nightmare.
Yeah.
And they just were. I'm not going to try and tell you anything different. They were a nightmare until we figured out that we didn't have to do the prescribed holidays.
Yeah.
But the thing is, even then, like you said, with weddings, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
There's only so many adaptations you can make. If you're going into this situation and you have social anxiety, you have sensory needs, you have neurodiversity, whatever you have that makes you struggle with that situation, you cannot make everyone in the world change for you, unfortunately.
No.
Sometimes really unfortunate.
That's fine. Well, I went to a wedding literally a couple of weeks ago, and it was a beautiful wedding, and it was lovely. And I'm a big people watcher. I will sit and just observe what people are up to. It was it was a very large family, and there was a little boy who straight away, he's autistic, quite highly autistic, and he was incredibly loud. He was having a great time, but he was incredibly loud, and we were having all that. So it came to the ceremony, and his parents sat at the back. He had his headphones on, he had his tablet, and he sat. And he was absolutely good as gold because he was in his little zone. He was totally fine. And I was watching other people around, and I knew I was like, good on them, they've prepped it, they've planned, they know what he's happy, he sat good as gold. And there were people huffing and puffing, like I could see, like people going, I can't believe he's got headphones, I can't believe. They didn't say it outwardly, but I you could tell. and I was sat there going, these people have planned. He didn't make a peep throughout the whole thing. He had headphones on. You wouldn't have known he had his tablet on until you actually saw him. But they'd done everything they could, and they made sure they were the first out, so they weren't in the crowd. They even let him, so when they did the confetti throwing, they let him be right at the end to be the last person that threw the confetti, so he didn't have to touch all the other confetti coming onto his body.
Yeah.
And they'd really thought about it. I mean, he still got to like throw some, but he was away from everyone else after they had walked away. And that's just planning what's good for you and making the best out of a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And I think if you are there judging other people's parenting or judging other people's decisions when it's not affecting you, he wasn't running up and down the aisle and pulling on the groom, like he sat out the way of everything. And I think you've got to really admire people who have gone, this is going to be a really stressful situation. I can't imagine how stressed those parents were coming into that, going, this could go one of two ways.
Oh, I can understand. Believe me, I know how stressful that would have been for the parents.
Yeah, and they did so well, and this little boy did so well. And I just sit there, I think a lot of the anxiety, it comes from the judgment, the pre-worry about the judgment you're going to get.
I think sometimes it's also fear of judgment.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not even the judgment. It's what the stories we're telling ourselves in our head. Like you said, you've watched those people and you've made a story of what those people are thinking as well. You don't know if that's what they were thinking.
No,
we very rarely do, but it is that pre-judgment, and it's our self-inner critic and our self-criticism, and it's so much to it. And it is, as a parent who has been there and done that, it is really hard when your child is just struggling with the situation they're in, with the changing routine, with the world changing, with the we're talking holidays, and it is a time full of these events that are just completely and utterly outside of norm for individuals. And as adults, we find that really hard. We kind of know that we have to go, we have to act certain ways, not always, depends what event you're going to and who your friends are. Some places are a lot more relaxed than others, but we do have these expectations that, as with Christmas, they're all expectations. They're all changes in routine. They're all busy schedules. They're all completely structured. I'm going to go sciencey. They're all completely socially structured. They're all completely social structures that are created and emphasized and exaggerated.
Yeah.
So when we're reacting to them, we're exaggerating.
Yeah, very
We're,
true.
all of our creations of how we should react and how others are expecting us to react are all just as exaggerated and created in this social construct that is overtaking it. And I
Yeah,
think all holidays are like that. Goodness me, Halloween is a bit of a thing for me because that's my New Year celebration. That is a
yeah,
huge celebration for me, but not in the way you would think it was celebrated.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So having that difference in celebration, a lot of people would walk into my Halloween and really not expect how it is celebrated here.
yeah,
And there's this huge construct of what it should be, but it's just not. And it's the same with every single holiday. There's so much, you know we've we've made a load of workbooks and worksheets for seasonal things for Dreamweavers, and where we've made them, it's not just the holiday that's hard. It's the weather, it's the darkness, it's feeling
hmm,
cooped up inside the house, it's fear of missing out, the anxiety that comes that you can't do it the same way as someone else.
oh yeah,
you know Gift anxiety, and the illnesses that go around, the amount of times people are ill in the winter is, and the
yeah,
cold, if some families haven't got the money to put the heating on. And there are families that are really struggling through the winter
yeah,
and still have this expectation of having this big Christmas and this big holiday season, and it is such a hard time for people out there.
it
As
really is.
it's hence why we're on here nattering away, because we're hoping that somewhere out there you're hearing us and you understand that we get it. We've had hard seasons where it's really not easy to be at this time of year.
Yeah,
Is Yeah, there's so much, but there are also things we can do. As we've designed these workbooks and we've been going through all that, we've started to come up with ideas of how you can start creating activities to bring up the mood. We're not saying that it will make the holidays perfect. That is, never going to happen, because there's no such thing as perfect. But our first tip, as you've heard us say so many times during this podcast, is to make it individual. Stop with the expectations. Do what works for you. If it takes all month to celebrate all month. That's brilliant. Why not? And if you cannot celebrate at all, then find ways that you can celebrate just you as a parent. If you're the parent that can't get your children to celebrate, find ways that work for you. Have a special treat or an arts and craft thing. I tend to my favorite thing to do nowadays is, because my boys are 20 and 18, I'm alone on Christmas Day. I am by myself pretty much on Christmas Day, and that's okay. I get myself a new latch hook rug, and then I spend all day making a latch hook rug, and
nice.
it's my Christmas Day latch hook rug, and then I gift it to somebody who needs one, or whoever is attracted to it, depending on what subject I've decided to pick. And to me, it's important to make that day different,
Yeah,
to my everyday, and to make sure I'm not working, and to celebrate in my own way. But it's not a way that would kind of be prescribed. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's not the expected way to celebrate, but to me that's still important.
Mm.
Personally, I'm also thinking I might do the same as my mother and just go away, but
I mean, do it. Can I come?
I think my 18-year-old might sulk slightly if there wasn't the Christmas dinner. He has
Yeah,
got
true.
used to Christmas dinner over the years. It's one of his favorites now.
Oh, bless him.
So it's like the only time of year he'll stop dining from table.
Oh,
It's like, I will only tolerate eating with you once a year.
bless him. Then it's very special.
It is very special. But that's the
Mm.
thing, is recognizing that as special.
Yeah,
It's recognizing that he's putting that as much effort into that day as he possibly can by doing that one thing,
yeah,
and acknowledging and recognizing and treasuring as a parent that way that he is able to show that he's trying.
absolutely.
And that to me was kind of my turning point with holiday celebrations, I think, was treasuring and understanding what he could give, and that was all he could give, and that is perfectly enough.
Yeah,
So here's some of the ways, because you'll have to check out the workbooks if you actually want all the ways, but here's some of them, because we have to give you something on these podcasts, because
Sneak peek.
that's what we're here for. But some ways is you can create cozy things inside. I used to love building like special forts and having cinema nights over the holidays, and just having that time of indoor camping, and it made family time more fun. Yeah. And to be honest, sleeping on the floor, I think I'm getting too old for it, but it was occasionally.
We made a den over the top of my bed once. It was just before I had my spinal surgery, so there was no way I was getting on the floor. But she was determined, and it was really cold. We wanted to have a snuggly night, so what we did is, somehow, I don't even know how I did it, I think I attached like a string from my curtain pole to my top of my wardrobe, and then we slung a blanket over it, and we pegged it, and we tied it all up. And even though it was still just my bed, because we had this thing over the top, it made it feel really special. And it's changing up. It might necessarily not cost anything, but it makes it different. And I know there was one year when it was actually it was my sister's engagement party. Lily was really young, but it was her first real time around loads of adults. And she was freaking out the entire day. She just wouldn't be around anyone. She was terrified. So what we did is, my sister was quite young at the time, but she made like a tent for her in the living room. It was literally just a blanket and some pillows, but there was little, like, a soft area in there. She put her toys in there, and Lily went in there, and she felt she had this safe space. And if you've got all of this chaos going around, if you create a tiny safe space for your child that they know is where they can go with no judgment, that won't take much, and it could be a savior, because you could just go any event at all. Or even if it's just they've come home from school, there's so much going on, they're a little bit stressed, I don't know what to do, make them a safe space. Like, it's simple, but it can make a lot of difference. Even if you've got one,
it's so important.
We used to have like a little one of those star projector lights, so we used to put that in there, so it was something for her to look at. And it's little tiny ideas of what you can do.
Mine, you're bringing back memories. My son, when he was in school, they didn't have a sensory room at that point. They most schools have sensory spaces now, but when he was in school, they didn't. This was like a good 10 years ago. And in school, because they didn't have that, he took a pop-up tent.
Oh, I love that.
And he had it in the classroom. He had this pop-up tent, and we'd made it into a safe space that he'd go and hide at any point. And that was really important to him, being able to take himself away when he needed to. And that's such a brilliant skill to learn, to start learning understanding of emotions, and being able to take yourself away is a huge skill to learn. It's massive.
It's touching on boundaries as well, like it's your own personal boundaries.
It's how much can I cope with, and learning that is a huge skill to learn. But we even had that in schools. We had like a I had it, so he had a tent in the classroom, and he had that safe space.
I love it.
I think his teacher wasn't so impressed with me putting the tent in the classroom at that point, but she agreed. So she was happy to work with me, and we were working together to keep him in school at that point. So that was important. But it's as well as making a safe space, when you're decorating, whether it be for Halloween or whatever you're celebrating, make sure that they're feeling involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Baking the decorations, finding them in shops, helping you explore what they want their seasonal holiday to look like. That is a huge thing as well, because you're empowering them to feel comfortable in their space and the space they're creating. You're also giving them a focus. So if you're out shopping and you've got a child who's really struggling in the shop, especially when it's busy in the seasonal in the seasonal madness, then give them a focus. Can you find this one thing? And it works when you have overloads. But I know at Christmas, especially over some years ago, we would go pick 3 things in this aisle that you want for Christmas. Oh my God, that was way too much overstimulation for my kids. I was like, how can I pick 3? They literally walk up and down the aisle for like an hour and then pick your bag of crisps. You know? So not what I meant. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, giving them a job or a task that will make them feel included is really important in the seasonal busyness and rush. Because I think sometimes the overload can be just feeling really lost and confused because everything's so different.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're normally going shopping and it's quiet and you've got the time to plodder around the shop. Plodder, is that even a word? Anyway, wander.
It is now.
It is now around the shops, and kind of, you know, the children are normally running around getting everything off the shelves, and then suddenly you go in at Christmas and it's like so busy that you're holding on to them tight and you're really tense, and they haven't got the same experience, and you know that that's to keep them safe.
Yeah.
They have just had their experience completely chopped and feeling like they've just been plonked into the trolley and that's it. It's completely cut off. So, you know, let them help you in whatever way is safe and whatever way works for you. Even if it is just while you're walking around the shop, they hold the scanner or something, you know?
Yeah.
Give them tasks to be interactive. That's quite important.
Absolutely. We're a very decoration heavy household, and but Halloween is our time. Like we are I have at least triple Halloween decorations than I do Christmas. It's a problem, but we we just adore it, and Lily is very much has grown up exactly the same. Like we had, when Lily was 3 years old, we had this it was like a 3-foot high zombie that would move and be like, it just would sit there. Lily, I found her sitting by his feet reading him a story. So we're you know, we're quite she's not scared.
I love it.
Not scared of anything. She would literally, and then when we had to put him away after Halloween, gutted. Like her zombie best friend was being removed from her. But she's always wanted to be part of it. And if I even consider thinking about planning our decorations without her, it will be, you know, she will take it as a mortal offense. And but also it's an inclusion thing, because we're planning way in advance. She doesn't deal too well with unexpected change. She'll be okay in the end, but it will cause her to have a few days of proper tornado brain. Like she won't know where her feelings are, she won't be able to place them. So we plan months in advance. And, you know, even from saying, well, what theme do you want this year, because we always switch up our themes, and she'll get planning, she'll research, she'll think about what we've got, she'll, you know, make all these dioramas and all of that, and she really gets her creativity. And what we try, I say we, it's me, what I try to do, I always do that,
so surprised.
It's getting excitement and using what they really are passionate about to your advantage. So Lily is a very creative child. She's very visual, she likes designing. So I will be like, let's get planning, what do you want to do, like all of this. And if your child is maybe not so creative but they like stories, maybe put it into a story format. Or if they are, you know, I have a friend whose little boy loves his Lego, and they were talking about changing his room around. So she built his room out of Lego, and she said, right, now you move it around to how you would like it.
Oh God. That's impressive.
And it was obviously not full size.
Oh, I have this visual image of a full-size room with Lego furniture here. Seriously.
You're so funny. But no, it's she just did this basic box, but because he loves his Lego so much, he was able to visualize, that's my window, that's my bed, that's my chest of drawers. Do I want to move it around? So he moved the little bed around, he did all the change, and he felt really in control. And it's, you know, children have to learn that change happens, but if we can buffer it slightly for them or help them feel a little bit more in control, they're much more likely to like the end result. Because if they've had a part in the designing, if they've had a part of choosing the decorations, when they go up, it's not as strange and new because they feel included. And same with anything, not just Christmas and Halloween, like birthdays, talk to them. What Would you like a big cake this year? Would you not like a cake? Do you not want us to sing to you? That's totally fine. Do you want a badge to take to school? No? Okay, that's fine. If you want one, let me know, but I won't force you to wear one. And it's, you know, do you want all your family coming round to give you presents? Do you want that attention? Do you not? And it's being open with them, because I think a lot of children.
It's also been ready to accept that, you know, and it's like you said, asking if they want all the family around and then them saying no. It's like, what do I do with that? Oh,
Yeah.
we have a duck noise. I actually did swear on one of these podcasts.
Our first duck noise that's in the Christmas episode. I love it. Maybe put some jingle bells over it instead. But
you've either heard ducks or jingle bells here, people. Woo! We don't know which yet.
Festive duck. But no, it's true. Whether it is a house move, whether it's changing schools, whether it's a big festive occasion or just something as small as having someone coming over to stay. I know that Lily was so excited when she used to have sleepovers, but when they'd actually arrive, the change to having someone in her room, their different routine, like she was or going over to other people's houses, because the routine was so different, she would be off, she'd be off for days afterwards. And
it's the planning, isn't it? It's the planning, the routine changes, the you know, they're used to having certain things run every day.
Yeah.
You know, if your child is in school, then they have such a strict routine that they are used to every single day. The coming out of that, you as a parent might want to lay in and be like, oh, thank God, no school run in the middle of winter, you know. But to them, that's their whole routine completely gone. That's all their security completely gone. That's, you know, yes, they're home in the weekends and all this, but the weekends have their own routine and their own rhythm as well. They're never the same as the holidays. So by creating plans, pre-planning, you know, make games about it, stories about it, show them how to express what they want to help with the seasonal things, you know.
Absolutely.
Maybe some social stories. If your child really struggles with routine and things, make a social story or make a timetable at home. Some children thrive from that. Personally, mine never did, but some children do.
Yeah,
I couldn't keep to a routine if I tried, but
we had to timetable everything for Lily. Especially when she was younger and at school, we had to write out who was picking her up every day. When it was her time to go to her dad's house, was dad picking up from school? Was it me? And if for some reason, if something had to happen, luckily I was so lucky that I was in the situation when my mum worked at the school that she was at. So if I couldn't get to pick up, it would be her. And that wasn't too much of a change because we lived together at the time. But it was, if someone was to say at the drop off in the morning, does Lily want to come around and play tonight? I'd say it to Lily and I'd see the fear go over her face going, this, I haven't prepped for this. Like, and I'd say, you know what, could we plan it for another day? And then once she planned, it was fine. But it's that case of, yes, we have to try and encourage children to step out of their comfort zones, but if you force them, they'll go further in.
Yes. And I think there's kind of last thing I'm going to bring up, because we're running out of time. This podcast will go on forever. But it's also understanding that where they're suddenly at home for the holidays, this works for summer too, there's that huge jolt of isolation.
Absolutely.
They're normally surrounded by 30 people most of the time, you know, if not hundreds of people in the playground. There's that, and a lot of the time our children, especially young people and kind of older teenagers and things like that, they socialize over games.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are like, as parents, we're like, oh, you can't sit on the computers all day. But you don't realize that those computers are feeding the social isolation gap that they have. So those games are not just feeding their, you know, probably addiction to gaming, because I think most teenagers in today's world, but they're also feeding the social isolation. They're feeding their socialization. They're feeding their engagement with people, and they're also kind of taking away the pressure of everything that's going around them, and they can hide in their computer games.
Yeah.
So if you don't want your child playing computer games, you need to consider, all holidays. I get it. No one wants to lose their child to a holiday, to the computers over the Christmas holidays. But consider what you need to replace that with.
Mm-hmm.
Consider that if you're just asking them to sit downstairs and watch television with you, they're used to so much more interaction and stimulation than that.
Yeah, you need to be present. If you're talking to them, maybe play a game, do something, because they're not looking at that screen and taking it in. They're thinking about, my friends are still playing my game. I want to be talking. I want to be playing. I want to be active. And
and negotiate with them. Tell them the truth. Say, I want you down here spending Christmas Day with me. And what do you want to do? And if they say, I want to be spending it with these people on this computer, like, okay, so what time is that? I know that my oldest, he streams for a living. He does gaming and streaming for a living, and he will tell you that between the hours of 6 and 10 at night, he cannot be disturbed. If the electric cuts off, there will be, you will know about it. But that's because that's his career now. But even from a young age, we negotiated that if you want me, I'm here available at this time. When are you available? Because their lives are as important to them as your life is to you.
So true.
And I think sometimes as an adult, that's really hard to comprehend. We might not recognize the benefits of the life they're creating in that space, because personally, I don't understand how he can spend that long playing that game at all. It's beyond me. But that's him is as important as filming this podcast is to me and you. Those things are so important to them that they deserve the respect and space to have a discussion about it.
Absolutely.
And I think with older, with young people, with the kind of teenagers and preteens, that respect will take you so much further than fighting with them. Mutual respect is earned with teenagers. It is
and
earned
lost
by
very
being
quickly.
open and understanding. And you can lose it, as Cherry said, very quickly. You only have to completely brush off one of their values, and that's it. You've lost their trust. And it's not always easy as a parent, because we kind of, I don't know about all parents out there, but I know my generation, and Cherry's about the same age as me, so we kind of still have that. I was at the age that grew up outside. We didn't have the computers all the time.
Oh no.
It was just kind of coming in. I am old enough for those days. But so for me, it's hard to understand how they're such a central part of their life. And I want them to have the childhood I have. But that isn't what they value.
No, but that childhood doesn't really exist anymore. It's been tweaked. It's got additions. It's got all of that. And we have to look from a more open-minded, modern mindset. And it's hard because we just want all the fun we experienced. I'm like, okay, but it has to be tweaked, because that lifestyle just isn't there anymore. It's all online, and there's a lot more
the because I said so parenting does not work anymore.
Oh no that pushes your children even further away.
It just doesn't. It's and I think that is, over the holiday period, even more important to remember. Because I think over the holiday periods, a lot of the time we just want to say, oh, because it's this time of year, we're doing this. And because I said so parenting does not work with this generation. Simple as.
Not at all. We're encouraging them to have their own minds, have their own opinions, stand up for their own values. So we can't say, do as I say. They'll be like, no, you've taught me to be an independent human being. Thank you very much.
We can't completely and utterly change our parenting style for 1 week and expect them to understand that.
No, not at all. And the amount of times I'm very much I'm not afraid to say that I make a lot of mistakes in my life. I'm a very big mistake maker. And obviously, my daughter's 12, almost 12 and a half, and she is so switched on, it's ridiculous. And the amount of times she's come in, she's like, do I need to parent you? Like, do you need that? I'm
like, my oldest will say he is the only adult in my house. Quite frequently.
I am a grown-up because it's compulsory, but I am not an adult.
Right, that's it. We've completely descended into
Madness.
into normal Ducks podcast madness. So thank you so much, everyone who is listening. I hope you have the most amazing December, no matter if you celebrate the holidays or not. I hope you at least have some good time off with your children and enjoy some time out. And I hope that it's as good as it possibly can be for you and not what you expect it to be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense anywhere in there? And I also want to say this is the last Ducks podcast in this season. There will not be another one until, well, next season I'll probably release in don't know, January, February. Haven't decided yet. We'll release it soon.
Last
but
of the year.
If you would like to come and join us recording a Ducks podcast, we would love to hear about your parenting stories. We are open to any discussion. So come on, join us. And if you want to do an in-person filming, we will be doing those in Peterborough in February. So feel free to come and join us for a Ducks episode, and you can come and film with us and join in the absolute I'm not sure that's a good sales pitch, really, to be honest with you sometimes. But
I mean, if I'm honest, a little bit of fun carnage never turned me away. So I think come join us, come have fun.
And now, before we go, we need Cherry's top to dance. Before
okay, 1 second for everyone listening.
Cherry. I don't know how we made it through this podcast. I hope you all have a great holiday season. Please follow, like, subscribe, share everything that we do here. We are just trying to reach as many parents as we can. Take care and have a happy new year.
Bye.
Bye.